Hey makers, welcome to my first video on Making with Matt. So, I wanted to start out this video by talking a little bit about myself. I'm an avid costumer and cosplayer. Love making props. I'm in so many groups it's not even funny. And those who are watching who know who I am, thanks for watching, thanks for being a friend, thanks for inviting me into your group. I also run my own costuming group that's related to the old 1983 V TV show. I run a ship here in California, and I'm part of a larger group called Visitor Fleet that was started by some wonderful people in Connecticut who make all of our uniforms and stuff back there. So getting into the costuming and conventions kind of circuit many years ago got me involved in props and making and really starting to understand my enjoyment for this kind of stuff. So I figured my first video I'd talk a little bit about that and then also dive into my kind of a brand new hobby, which is 3D printing. I'm brand new, so I don't know a ton of the stuff out there. I know it's been around for years. I've been wanting to do it for years, and I decided to kind of start small, so I bought a Robo C2. It's only got a print bed of 5 inches by 5 inches by 6 inches, or roughly 127 millimeters by 127 millimeters. It's been a great little printer, and I've had it, I don't know, maybe I was like 2 weeks now, and I love printing stuff on it, but I really just don't want to break things up. So I've already ordered a much larger 3D printer that's on its way, and that's going to be a Creality CR10, if I have that information correct. So that's on its way, and I'm going to have videos showcasing that. I guess it's kind of brand new, I'm not really sure, but it's been getting really good reviews from other YouTubers. So thanks everyone out in the 3D printing community for putting out those videos. I really appreciate it. But let's talk a little bit about what 3D printing is and what my expectations were and what I thought 3D printing was, and now that I own a 3D printer and I've been printing things, how kind of my thought process has changed a little bit. So the first thing is I think I fell into a group of a lot of people out there who said, I'm going to buy a 3D printer, I'm going to download 800 things off Thingiverse, I'm going to hit print, I'm going to make you this, 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 I'm going to make me this, I'm going to make everybody this stuff, and it's going to be amazing. Well, let's jump into reality. First of all, it doesn't work that way. Yeah, there is an amazing community on Thingiverse, and there's an amazing community on other sites as well. There's a lot of people put their time into making stuff, and I think that's wonderful. I think that's really great, and I think that's what has really helped this hobby kind of grow. The first thing I kind of learned, though, a little bit was that not every model is created exactly the same. The second thing is it depends on what kind of settings you're going to end up using on a particular print. You have different layers and thicknesses and qualities. What kind of infill are you using? Which is, if you're going to create some sort of, let's say, structure, or wall or cube or whatever, are you going to make it rigid? Are you going to make it solid and use up all of your filament? Or are you going to make it more of a structure type of thing, which gives it some rigidity but it doesn't use up as much filament? So there's things like that. All those kind of things come into play. I was aware of that, though, when I started. The other thing is it depends. Do you have a printer like this? Robo C2 is awesome. I love it. It's a very compact unit, and it fit in this kind of small space that I have here. But it's a small print bed, so you do have to use software to split things up. And then when you split things up, you kind of look at it in the 3D environment, and you say, well, maybe I have, like for example, I just printed out a Cylon pistol, which is made by a fellow 501st Legion member in Mexico, and it's a great design. The thing is that on this kind of print bed, for the pistol grip, he had 2 sides. So you're going to print this side and this side, and he had them laying down. But the issue with that is that laying down wouldn't fit on this print bed. It was too big. So I thought, okay, I'm going to raise them up. And then you have some overhang issues and things like that. So I said, okay, I'm going to split the pistol grip into 2 halves. So I got a left side that's split. So I got top piece, bottom piece. I'm going to split the right side, top piece, bottom piece, and I'll print out those 4, and I'll glue the 2 sides together, and then I'll glue them together. Well, the problem is that there's this awesome design. It's on the sides, and if you split it, then you're going to end up with this line, like line in your hand, straight through it. Now, yeah, you're going to go in and you're probably going to do some cleanup work with it, with say some Bondo. This is spot putty, great stuff, especially for 3D printing. But when you get a design like that, it's a lot of work, a lot of effort, and I didn't want to ruin the essence of that cool looking design on the gun. And even though this Cylon pistols from the late 70s is a very basic prop, I mean, essentially the whole thing's black and it's got a kind of a clear crystal tip on it, I still didn't want to split that down. So I went into the software and I kind of combined the pieces, and instead of printing it flat like this, on this particular printer I printed it upright. But then I had to use supports and things like that. And supports are what if you have like an overhang like this, and it's going to start printing down here, and you're going to have this kind of large overhang. Eventually you could do this. So you print a support, and it's going to hold it like that. So things like that. But as far as printing goes, and my expectations of it, that kind of stuff came into play. Okay, I'm going to possibly have to modify other people's designs or models to accommodate maybe my printing hardware. So obviously having a larger print bed, you don't have those issues, but in this case with a smaller one you do. So that was something I didn't think about. The other thing I didn't know was the time. Oh my God! I mean, really? I mean, you look at something and you say, okay, I'm going to print. Well, here, I'll show you right here. I got this fidget spinner I've printed for my kid, right? This piece, like example, I haven't glued this bottom one yet because I realized I have to put the bearings in it. Okay, so this piece right here, you look at this. How long do you think that this took to print? Well, I think it took 5 or 6 hours to print just this. And in this case of this spinner, I got this. I've got another one right here on the top. I've got this inside wall, and then we've got some, caps for the bearings. And this is another thing I'd like to discuss about 3D printing. So all in all, I'm talking almost a day to print these pieces. And in the case of this particular printer here with a 5x5 print bed, I'm only printing, one of these at a time on a print. Right, so I got 12 hours here, plus I know 4 or 5 hours here, so that's a day just to print these 3 pieces that I put together, and then maybe about an hour or so to print these little caps. The other thing, the next thing, so time. It's unbelievable how much time this stuff really takes. So yeah, I went and downloaded, bookmarked 300 things on Thingiverse. I think the first day I got this thing, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to print this, I'm going to print this, I'm going to print this. And I'm glad I bookmarked all those things, because there's definitely, I'm going to go back and start printing things. But it isn't going to be like, oh, I'm going to print all those things in the first week or even the first month. It's just not going to happen. The other thing in regards to time is that when people tend to get larger 3D printers, like I've got the CR10 coming, you're like, oh, now I can print really big things. Well, yeah, you can, but it's also going to take a lot longer to print that big thing. So that was something that I hadn't thought about. Really, was the time. It really there's a lot of time involved in this. The next thing is it's not. Everything's not, I'm going to call it print and play. Hey, well, plug and play from '98, right? Not everything is print and play. It depends obviously on how the person, if you're downloading something, I'm not talking designing stuff yet, because I haven't even gotten into the design my own process stuff yet. I'm talking about just downloading things from other people. It depends on how things are designed. Like for example, this is amazing. I love this because the way this guy printed it, it fits perfect. You put some glue in it and pop it in and you're good to go. But I've had some issues with other things where people designed things and didn't just quite fit. And I didn't do anything with scaling or anything in software. This one I'm currently using Cura, and I didn't do anything with scaling or anything like that. So that can come into play. I remember this little dumpster. I don't know, I wanted a little dumpster, a little trash can to put various pieces of filaments and bits in or whatever. And I thought, hey, why you 3D print a dumpster? That's cool. So I 3D printed this dumpster, and then realized that the rod that you're going to put through the dumpster doesn't fit. So you read through the comments on this particular Thingiverse file, and it says, oh, print everything at 110% except for this one piece. And that way the rod will fit through it, or you can use a paper clip or whatever. So the thing about 3D printing is it's not print and play. Definitely make sure that you know that. The good thing about it, though, is that if you're a maker and you like to build things and you like to work with things, then any sort of cleanup process you're going to have afterwards is not going to be an issue, because you enjoy that kind of stuff. So when you print things, it just depending on the printer, it depends on the process. You could have leftover plastic, little flashing sort of stuff that you're going to use X-Acto knives or cutters or trimmers or sandpaper on. So you will have cleanup work depending on how you want things to come out. You may be filling stuff with spot putty. You may be doing that just so that you get rid of certain lines, doing a lot of sanding. I'll give you an example. This is one of the end caps, which you can see there. There we go. And this is for the fidget spinner. So the way this works is this particular one has actually 2 gears. These things just use skateboard gears. Bearings, sorry, gears. Bearings. Skateboard bearings. One's here, and the way this is set up is you stick this in one end of the bearing, and then you get the male part here, and you pop it into the other end of the bearing, and there you go. The thing is that this top piece here fits on the top, and so it's visible. And same thing with the bottom. So, but typically you're only going to have it one way in this case. Say in this particular spinner, it's a zero toe. So you're going to spin it, you're going to look through the holes, and you're going to see the image. But the point was that when I tried to, of course it helps if I don't drop it, lol. When I tried to print these, it was originally printing like this, so that you got this kind of very small two-sided shaft at the bottom, and when it started to get to the top and going I had installed an update into this printer, and I think it kind of messed up the Z offset. And just so you know, the Z offset is what you use to calibrate on this particular printer. Well, actually it's probably all printers, so let's take that back. When you calibrate the Z offset, what it's doing is it's calibrating where the print bed is in relation to the nozzle, and you bring it down a little bit, and you put a kind of a piece of paper or card or whatever it is that you're supposed to use in there. And in my case, I used a piece of paper, so that there's just a tiny little bit of friction on the back and forth, and that way it knows exactly where it needs to print the layers at. So I think the Z offset was off after I did this update to this printer, and what started happening was it was just like literally like 1 millimeter too low, and the head started grabbing this and shaking it, or ripping it, and literally pulled it off the bed, and then it fell off. And I was like, well, that's over, and these took 40 minutes, or I was in like 30-40 minutes printing these things. So at that point the print's ruined. Okay, start over and start again. So I went back into Cura and took these and rotated them so that it would print flat like that on the bed, and that worked great. But the problem is that this top is not flat. It was designed with kind of a little curve in it, so it kind of had to start on the outside, this way. It was printing the outside, and it was going up and trying to print this little curve. And when it came off and it was done, it was really bad in there. It was just looked horrible. So and plus it wasn't flat, and I'm like, well, I really wanted it flat. So I just took some spot putty and just filled it in, let it dry, and then sanded it down with some 320 grit sandpaper, really kind of fine stuff. And that will work great, but the point is that it's not print and play. So that's the next thing to think about. The final thing I want to talk about as far as things I've learned about 3D printing is things sticking to the bed. Oh man, have I gone through some trial and tribulations over the last 2 weeks to figure this one out. So this particular printer, the first thing is that it comes with I'll just show you here. Comes with these guys. Okay. And for all intents and purposes, this is just painter's tape that looks black. That's all this is. And the whole point is that you peel one off and you stick it on the print bed and you print your thing, and you can get. I can't fathom that people are getting multiple prints out of this, because the first thing is that when you get this thing, and I don't know if I can find it. I got a little. Yeah, here we go. It comes with, you know, a spatula, and of course there's a little of a edge there, so that when this thing is printed, just use this example, and you got a little bit of a it's not even an adhesive bed. I don't even know what it is. I'm so new. The first thing I printed when I first got this thing came off of the USB stick, and it had this kind of adhesion bed underneath it. So I don't know if adhesion bed and rafts are two different terms, but hey, let me know. That's what this is all about. But it prints this kind of, you know, layers around it. And in fact, here, this thing just finished. I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. So it's this kind of external thing around, and that's where it's going to come off from. Is that. So maybe that's the raft, and an adhesion bed is what it prints underneath it, so that the object will stick to the bed. I'm not really 100% sure on that yet. Still learning. So anyways, you got this thing, but the problem is and I'll give you an example right here. So obviously I got to get a plastic one. This one's metal. Comes with a metal one. Okay, so I'm going to stick it under there, for example, and I'm going to try and get it underneath that. Now the other issue is, in fact, I'm going to start on this side first. Just I'm not going to do this entirely, but here we go. Now I can get under there a little bit. Instead of making with mat, this should be called cooking with mat. I feel like I'm using a spatula here. Okay, there we go. Got it up a little bit. There we go. And now I can pull it off. Okay, so maybe I'm doing something wrong. I don't know. But obviously, see that? Okay. Stick that back on there for now. So that happens pretty much every print that I've done on this. Now, again, this is a non-heated bed. So that could have something to do with it. I really don't know. The point is, I've heard some people get multiple uses out of this. I got 1 out of 1, and I'm like, well, if they supply you with, like, you know, just a few, then at some point I'm going to have to be ordering more. And they do sell them on the website, but I'm like, I don't want to keep buying, you know, these over and over and over and use one every print. That just seems a little ridiculous. So did some research, and everyone, you know, for I guess years now, the standard, where did I put it? I don't even know where if I put it. Lost it. Lost my tape. Lost my blue tape. Blue tape. Blue painter's tape. Okay. Comes in little rolls. Is blue, and you know, looks like this. So in this case, I just, because it's a small print bed, I'm using the thinner stuff. But there you go. It's this blue painter's tape. And like I said, to me, I don't see any difference between that and this, other than this is black. So I said it's much cheaper for me to buy this stuff in bulk and just lace them down there, and there you go. The other nice thing about this, of course, and this is one reason why this had some issues coming off, is because the other issue with stuff sticking to the bed is it comes down to also the ends curl up. So you'll be printing, like you'll start this printing, and it'll print this outside kind of rafty area right here, and suddenly this just starts to peel up. And once that starts to peel up, everything else starts to peel up, and then your print's ruined. So I've actually got to the point now where if I'm printing something, I'll watch it for the first few minutes. And I've tried printing at 50%. I've tried increasing the extruder nozzle temperature up to, like, typically PLA is 195-ish, 190 to 195 C in the temperature range. I've taken it up to 220 to really smoke that sucker and get it to stick into this stuff. And I've still had issues. It's hit and miss. It totally is hit and miss. So essentially what I've done is I'll go through while this outside raft is printing, and I'll take a Q-tip. I'll break off the end like that, so I have a little bit of a stick. And I'll grab some CA glue and put a little dab on there. And as the as the extruder nozzle is going around like this, I'm taking this glue and just going I'm just dabbing some glue on the outside corners, just depending on where it is, just to keep that down, and that's helped that. I have some people that have not had this issue whatsoever. So again, it's one of those things that's like, is it related to the particular printer? Is it related to the temperature? Is it related to the tape that I'm using? There's still a lot of variables in 3D printing as far as what I can see. And even though a printer like this is kind of a nice all-in-one unit, it's nice and compact, there's still a lot of process involved. It's why I have a big love and respect for everyone who creates molds and does casting and makes props and things, because I've seen people like Adam Savage formerly from Mythbusters, and I remember he was trying to cast a mold of Jamie's head, and it failed. And on the show, he literally said, "I haven't failed like this in a long, long, long time." But the point is there's so many variables involved in this stuff that it could affect a good print versus a bad print. So this one came out pretty well. There was a little bit of issues here where I gotta clean up some plastic that got overprinted here in the inside, but that's not too big of an issue, because in this particular thing I'm making, which is the 8080 computer from War Games, there's going to be another piece that's going to be glued in here, so that won't be too much of a problem. Just wanted to kind of go over the things I've learned over in the last couple of weeks. I got a long ways to go, and that's kind of one of the reasons I wanted to do this, is the process of not only 3D printing, but other things I make. I like to make things with wood. I like to do carpentry and things like that. I'm not a master carpenter, but I know the basics, and I can make things somewhat level. So I just wanted to have a video about 3D printing, and there'll be a lot more to come. So make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. Leave your comments, leave your feedback. Some people don't read comments. I'll be reading them because I'm curious to know what you people think, and to see how you can help me grow, how I can help you grow, and how we can make the community just a smidgen a little better. It's amazing as it is, but anyways, I'm having fun with it, and I hope you're enjoying it too. Thanks for watching. Make sure to hit that subscribe button down below, and we'll see you next time.